Hi, EJ the Collector here. Happy Friday. I'm making an actual YouTube video. It's been a while since I made a full-length YouTube video. I've been really focusing on my shorts. I've been trying, I've been making less of them. I've been kind of doing, quality over quantity and trying to make my shorts really informative and longer and have a lot of images and stuff. And, I like the formula that I have going with those, but it does mean I've been making less content. And it's been a while since I put out a, full YouTube video. So that's what I'm doing today. And I just want to briefly talk about the Superman trailer. I want to give my opinion as someone who spends way too much time every day reading comic books, especially the ones that it's based off of. I have a huge omnibus collection. Feature editing EJ will put some video of that in right now. So let's take a look at some shots of the Superman trailer. Let me quickly give my opinion about that. The first thing that I want to talk about is Mr. Terrific. I never thought we were going to get... Okay, I got to get this out of the way. What makes me excited about James Gunn's DC universe is that I never thought we were going to get these characters in live action because, especially before the Marvel era, right? Marvel has brought in so many obscure characters now, or maybe not obscure, but like minor characters that are really cool that it's so awesome that we're finally getting to see on the big screen or in streaming or whatever. And, before that, superhero movies only focused on for DC it was the Trinity, right? Really just Superman and Batman and sometimes Wonder Woman. And for Marvel it was like Hulk, it had Captain America. But now we get to see all kinds of characters, like a more diverse group of characters from the comic book world. And it's so much better because these characters, the ones that aren't like the main characters that everybody knows, are oftentimes the coolest characters in the whole universe. Mr. Terrific is a really good example of this. He's freaking awesome. He's supposed to be the smartest guy in all of DC. That can be argued. That's going to start a whole debate, but he is one of the smartest people, and his technology is awesome. He's got some T-spheres here in this shot, and I'm so excited to see him in this movie. Also, he's got the fair play on his arms. Very comics accurate. This whole trailer is super comics accurate. He has a tragic backstory. I don't know if they'll go into it in this movie, with his family dying and everything. And he's just awesome. And there's some shots in this trailer of him fighting a bunch of people with his T-spheres and doing all this really cool stuff. And we're getting a live action Mr. Terrific. How can you not be excited about that? So that's that one. Oh, and then I put this near the beginning because I just wanted to talk about this little flick here. I don't know why this became controversial. People that don't read comic books were having an issue with this. When movies stay close to the source material, whether it be comic books or whatever it is, they always do better. And I'm always preaching that comic book movies should stay true to the source material. The closer they say, obviously they have to be new. That's what the MCU did so well. It brought in some new stuff and it was a modern take, but the core of what made the comics amazing was still in those movies. And I want that for DC. And so I understand that's important, but people who don't read comic books were commenting on this saying, oh, it has to be coming out of his ring or whatever it is. I know a million people have talked about this, so I'm not going to harp on it a lot. This is completely comics accurate. They can manifest things with their rings that are not attached to a beam from the ring. That's totally normal. And also, Guy Gardner is a jerk. He's my least favorite Green Lantern. He is so annoying in the Justice League International omnibus that I read with him. He's a nuisance, freaking nuisance. So I'm in a way, I'm a little disappointed that the Green Lantern in this movie is Guy Gardner because he's not my favorite, but I do know a lot of people are big fans of Guy Gardner, and I do think Nathan Fillion will play the character very well. And he's been Green Lantern in voice acting roles and stuff for a long time. So I think it was just destiny for him to finally get to play Green Lantern, and I think he's going to do a great job. And we're going to get a comics accurate, proper Green Lantern in here. And also something to notice, they added this little bluish kind of the shimmer they added to this to his constructs. I don't know what it is, but it looks so much better than what the constructs look like in Ryan Reynolds' movie. Now obviously that movie sucked. Sorry, but whatever they're doing with the Green Lantern constructs here, it looks way better than I've seen in past iterations. So yeah, he's being classic jerk Guy Gardner. All right, going back to this. Yes, they fixed the eye closed thing because Superman wouldn't flinch. I think that's a funny detail that people picked up on. This shot's amazing. I love the art direction of this, or the cinematography of this movie already, just from the shots. Even that kind of fisheye angle that it gives, on Superman sometimes when he's like flying or right at the camera. I kind of like that. I think it looks good, so I don't really have any complaints there. I'm an optimist when it comes to these movies. Okay, love him switching to the Superman voice. That's pretty funny. And I think this is kind of comics accurate too. Superman, here's the thing about characters in comic books. It does a little bit depend on the writer, right? The way they act and carry themselves in the comics. So, don't get me wrong. I think writers always try to find the voice of Superman when they do write him. Whoever's writing the character always tries to find Superman's voice, right? But it is true that sometimes the character can be a little different from writer to writer. And there are times in, the comics for Superman where he does display a little bit more emotion and he does get like passionate about what he's talking about and the things that are happening. And I don't think it's unrealistic at all that he would react this way, like, getting frustrated with her questioning because he was just trying to save lives. I think that is still very much in character for Superman. If you look at him historically, and I thought it was nice to see a Superman that's actually just, really defending his actions and saying, my top priority is to save lives. And that's what it is. And that's true, so this was good. Comics accurate, Fortress of Solitude. In this book, you do see the Fortress of Solitude, and I would love, if it doesn't seem like they're going to do it, but I would love for them to do this gag in here. Actually, I can show this really quick. Hold on. Where there's the key to the Fortress of Solitude on the ground, and Lois Lane's kind of like, isn't that like not very secure, just leaving your key lying around? And Superman's like, pick it up. And she tries and she can't. It's because it's like, let me see, it's made of a super dense dwarf star material and weighs 500,000 tons. The only person on Earth who can lift it is me. That's what it says there. And I love that. I think that's so funny. And it's such a cool way to use Superman's strength as like a way of entering the Fortress of Solitude. And I was kind of hoping, because everything was so comics accurate here, that they would do some kind of like, James Gunn has said that this movie is very much based on All-Star Superman. So I was hoping they would do that gag in the movie. It doesn't look like they're going to, based on the way the doors of the Fortress of Solitude open up in this trailer, but we may not get that, but I just wanted to throw that in there. I was hoping when I saw it was going to be based on All-Star Superman that we would get that moment. Crypto, pretty cool. Crypto had his run in like the Silver Age, is where you get like the super pets and stuff. I mean, I think that's where Crypto really shined the most, is like in the Silver Age. He's not around that much in modern comics. Not that I have, maybe he should be. Maybe, people really like Crypto. I don't know. I read, Silver Age omnibuses all the time. I'm reading Silver Age Superman right now, and I like it. But so I thought it was an interesting choice to include Crypto in the movie. But I think it's cool. I mean, and it's in the comics, so. Yeah, like that, sure. The robots, in the inside of the Fortress of Solitude, this is all very comics accurate. I liked this a lot. And I'm guessing we're going to get to see the Bottle City of Kandor and stuff like that, and all the stuff in the trophy room, or if he has that at this point. I'm assuming he does, though, which will be pretty cool. I can't wait to see the Easter eggs that are inside the Fortress of Solitude. This casting for Lex Luthor is good, I think. This guy's a good actor. I'm hoping he can pull it off, because I think you have to be a good actor to pull off Lex Luthor, especially because he's the kind of villain that monologues and is a little bit dramatic, and to get away with that without coming off cheesy, I think is a talent that this guy's going to need. So we'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, here's Mr. Terrific again, fighting a bunch of people with his T-spheres. They show this shot really briefly, but it looks so cool. I can't wait to see Mr. Terrific just tearing people up. And people are going to see how cool Mr. Terrific is. There was a comic called The Terrifics that I read quite a bit of. It had Plastic, and this was a recent iteration of The Terrifics. It had Plastic Man on it, and Metamorpho, who we'll see later, and some other characters, and it was a lot of fun. So Yeah, big Mr. Terrific fan, and I can't wait to see this scene in the movie. Here's Metamorpho. In this, it looks like a menagerie to me. Okay, I guess it's just a prison, but like a menagerie where an alien keeps a bunch of alien like things prisoners so he can walk around and look at them. That's what it looks like to me. It's probably not what it is. I have no idea why Metamorpho is in this prison with him. Metamorpho, another really cool character. Never thought we'd see a Metamorpho live action. If you don't know who Metamorpho is, let me tell you, his powers are a little bit like, they're almost like a plot device in the comics because he can do pretty much anything. He can turn himself into things. He can change his molecular structure and become different elements and stuff like that. And it's extremely powerful. Like, Metamorpho is one of those characters. It's like, how do you even kill Metamorpho? It's like you can't, because he can just transmute himself into freaking mist and float away, like, or into toxic gas or whatever it is. So it'll be interesting to see, what they do with his powers in live action and how much they can actually do. I think he's going to be a character that it's going to be hard to get right in live action when you compare it to the comics. But we'll see. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in this movie. Another shot of Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific there on the right. Just showing how badass he is with the T-spheres flying around. This is cool. Looks like we're going to get a pseudo Justice League in here, which will be pretty cool. Maybe this will set up a Justice League movie or something like that. There's Lex Luthor again showing his acting chops. Looks good. Metamorpho doing his metamorphing thing. Or it almost looks like, I don't know. It's hard to tell what's going on there. It looks like he's transforming into something, but it almost looks like he doesn't want it to be going on. I don't know. This is comics accurate, using the sun to kind of heal him, and they're like intensifying the sun. This happens, like he gets injured and he has to, in the comics, there's been a number of times he gets injured and he has to go back to his Fortress of Solitude, and his like robots that are there, help him, restore his health. So like I said, again, very comics accurate situation that he's in. And also, I like the fact that this Superman is not like 100% indestructible. The thing about Superman and Superman comics in general, Superman is a hard character to write good stories for. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there aren't good Superman stories out there. There are. But because he was one of the first superheroes, I think there wasn't as much thought put into his design, right? Because when they first created him, he didn't even have a weakness, and he just had all these powers. He could do everything. And it's hard to create a sense of like real danger with a character that is so powerful and only has it's like you always see it coming because it's always kryptonite or it's magic, right? His two weaknesses, and more kryptonite than magic. So all that said, it is difficult to write, in my opinion, it's difficult to write really compelling Superman stories, but good writers can still do it. And I do think that, there have been times in the history of comics where they've kind of like reined in his powers a little bit to make him a little bit less powerful. And I think that brings up the danger factor. I'm not saying he's going to be not as powerful as Superman in this movie, but I don't care if it shows him getting knocked around a little bit and getting injured and whatever. Like when that giant like kaiju thing that's in the city, if that thing hits him and it actually hurts him and does some damage, I think that's a good thing. I think I don't think we want an overpowered golden silver age Superman in these movies. I think we want like a new 52 Superman, or an all-star Superman Superman in this. I've said Superman like 400 times in this movie though, one that is, invincible in a way, but can still take damage. It can still be hurt. And you could still feel such a danger for him. Like he might not make it. And it's not always going to have to be kryptonite, like the one thing that stops him. Anyway, all I'm trying to say here is that I do think that, it's good that we're not getting a 100% invulnerable Superman. I think that is better for storytelling. All that said, that is my take on the trailer. That was, there's a lot more in the trailer that I didn't show, and there's a lot more we can go into. I'm super excited for this. I think James Gunn is going to do a great job. I love what he said about, they're not going to go forward with something until they have a script that they really love, and I think this is an issue Marvel has run into in recent projects where they have to hit a deadline and they want to put out, whatever the content is, the show or the movie, because they've promised it by a certain time. And they do a bunch of rewrites and reshoots, and it ends up with bad green screen shots, like in Captain America with the Red Hulk. What was that on? Brave New World or whatever. There was like a couple like green screen shots in that movie that totally took me out of it, and you could tell like they just threw those in there last minute because they had to do rewrites or something like that. Anyway, I think like avoiding that and saying script first is such a good philosophy for movie making, especially these superhero kind of movies where it's so important to stay true to the source material. So if there's anything you want to see in future videos, I'm going to try to do more of these videos where I just sit down and talk about comics and my opinions and stuff or whatever. If there's anything you want me to talk about, leave a comment, and I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Thanks.